Hey everybody, I'm here at Aalo Atomic's grand opening in Austin, Texas. And this is a pretty ambitious new company. Their goal is to bring micro-sized and modular nuclear power plants to the industry.
We are Aalo Atomics. We design and build nuclear reactors that are small enough to fit in your garage and can power anything from a data center to a large city.
And to do that, they want to build this factory here to vertically integrate the entire process and mass produce these nuclear plants. Now, unlike what normal nuclear plants come to mind, those large infrastructure projects that are the size of factories, they have thousands of workers, and it's a very complex operation. Instead, this uses some new technology and technology that's based on work that was done in the 1950s and 60s to bring semi-truck trailer-sized nuclear power plants. And these, as I mentioned, are modular. They can be stacked together, so you could get 1, 2, or 3. Each one of them produces approximately 10 megawatts of electricity. Also, it can produce thermal energy in addition to the electricity because of the processes that are used. Now, we're going to go ahead and go into the factory. We're going to get a chance to talk to the CEO of the company, get some more details about what their plans are, and of course, be part of the grand opening ceremony, which is just about to begin. So this is pretty exciting, and I'm looking forward to learning more about this company and also sharing with you what they are planning on doing, because it is pretty neat.
Thank you so much for bearing with us, and thank you for coming. Really excited to be talking to you today. So, to kick things off, I just want to honor some of the people who played a role in the origins of nuclear energy. And I think it's incredible if you imagine yourself being one of these 4 people who discovered the most powerful force in the history of humanity and didn't end up living to see it live to its full potential. And all of what we're really trying to do is see that vision lives through that final goal of what vision can really become, which is usher in a new era of abundance for all of humanity. And these people, they knew that when they discovered fission, it was way, way better than anything else that existed at the time. Oil and gas was getting started, and they knew that it was 2 million times more energy dense than oil and gas. And they knew that oil and gas would run out in a few hundred years, and that nuclear could last 10 million times longer. And unfortunately, the whole world took it in a bit of a different direction. And so, for a period of time, as we all know, nuclear energy and nuclear weapons were intertwined. And people tried to essentially throw out the baby with the bathwater. And it's taken humanity 80 years since fission was first discovered to disintertwine this complex web. But I think right now we're seeing the public is realizing that these two things are very different: nuclear weapons, nuclear energy. And one of the most beautiful examples of this has happened in just the past week, where 3 Mile Island, the nuclear power plant, played a role in being the final nail in the temporary coffin for nuclear energy, has just been actually repurposed. And Microsoft has signed on to offtake energy from this plant once again, after this caused a slowdown in the industry in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. And so, at Aalo, we believe that the door is now open for society to embrace nuclear energy. And we intend to show the world just how incredible this energy source can be. So I know some of you might know some of these things, but I want to highlight how far we've come. Because around 12 to 14 months ago, The company was 1 or 2 people. And right now, 12 months later, we moved into this 40,000 square foot manufacturing facility. We've raised around 33 million out of venture capital. We've also recruited the team behind the first new advanced reactor being built in decades, the Marvel reactor. Our co-founder, CTO, Yasser, who is about to go up and talk, is the mastermind behind that reactor, along with many of the folks in this audience. And this technology is under construction as we speak. The fuel has been fabricated, the reactor is being built, and what we are doing is commercializing a scaled up or commercially focused version of this reactor. And we're calling it the Aalo 1. Yeah. And so if you come back to this very location in 6 to 8 months, you will see a full-scale, non-nuclear version of this reactor. This is our internal goal. Don't tweet that. But in the meantime, in the past year, we've also signed a DOE site use MOU. We're one of 2 other companies that have done this, NuScale and Oklo, but we're proud that this took us 1 year instead of 5 or 10. So we're moving quickly. And we've also submitted our regulatory engagement plan with the NRC. And Amir is working his butt off on that, and we thank him for that. So just by chance, these 3 different de-risking strategies fit into the panels of the wall, which is really nice. So the Series A, we're building the non-nuclear prototype that you can come back and see next year. That will help us de-risk the economics, the manufacturability, etc. The Series B that we're planning to raise next year will pay for the Aalo X, the Aalo experimental reactor, which we're building at Idaho National Lab. And we're targeting 26 to 28 to build that and go vertical. And that will help us come further down the cost curve, move towards this vision of having this space where you are right now in the world's first small nuclear reactor factory. So this, we intend to be a model that we can repeat in many places. This will be the first, but it will not be the last. And we'll repeat this in other places around the US. And the goal is for each of these factories to be a true Giga Factory in the sense that it will produce a gigawatt per year for each factory. And we'll repeat this in different locations, different countries, and make a big dent in the energy transition over the next few decades. And so I want to especially highlight here why we chose Texas. So Texas is an amazing place, history of cowboys and people kind of doing things differently, not being afraid to trailblaze. So Texas is very pro-nuclear. The same cannot be said of certain other states, like California. It has a history of innovation, especially in energy. So in the early 2000s, natural gas was not the top energy producer in the US, but thanks to innovation here on fracking and oil and gas, natural gas is now the #1 source of electricity in the country. And we intend to continue that history of energy innovation with the next major source, nuclear. Additionally, there's a lot of great talent here to hire from, SpaceX, Tesla, other similar companies. And lastly, it's a grid that needs us. It's a really fascinating combination of deregulation, FERC being less relevant, and a need for decentralized baseload energy. So we think this is an incredible place to be deploying the first small reactor factory in the world. So this is my final statement, and I'm excited to pass it on to Yasser to go deeper. But we are very excited because we believe that Texas is where the future of nuclear will be built. So thank you.
Can you all hear me? Should I talk louder? Okay, perfect. Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. We're really excited to have each and every one of you here. Tune in the clicker. My name is Yasser Arafat. I'm the Chief Technology Officer and co-founder at Aalo. If you're born after 1990, you have no idea that it's a famous name. If you were born before then, you know it is. So today I'm going to talk about a little bit more about the technology, why we're doing what we're doing, and why we're doing things differently. First off, I want to take us to the problem statement, right? Matt talked about why we have such an amazing time going on right now to bring in a new energy technology like nuclear. But why isn't everybody building nuclear plants now? Why are we building new systems? And the reason being, if you look at current reactors, they're amazing. They're gigawatt scale systems. They're very reliable, extremely safe. We've been running them for many years. In fact, we've got nearly 100 reactors in the country that's making 20% of all the power in the country. Did everybody know that? 20% of our electricity comes from nuclear. But if you want to build new systems, the challenge is it always takes a lot more time and a lot more money than what you originally anticipated. In fact, if you look at the data, 2014 study, they looked at 180 reactors around the world, and almost like a staggering 97% were beyond schedule and budget. It's kind of crazy if you think about it. And most of them took a lot longer to build as well. And so at Aalo, we think that is an excellent problem to focus on. So what we're trying to do is trying to rethink how we can deploy nuclear systems so that we can avert these two major risks. How can we build nuclear reactors that can be built without the risk of schedule and budget overrun? The approach that we've taken is instead of building a gigawatt scale plant that at best takes about 10 years to build, most optimistic scenario, you can get 1 gigawatt worth of energy. Rather, what we're focusing on is building a lot of small reactors in our factory where we can build nearly 1 gigawatt worth of energy every single year. So that's a massive scale difference between 10 years to get a 1 gigawatt versus getting the same power each year on the ground. And as Matt mentioned, if you need more energy, we can have another factory built that can spit out another gigawatt. That's our goal. So welcome to the facility where we're going to demonstrate this. This will be the facility where we'll be building, scaling up our efforts all the way to 100 reactors. So why are we doing this? Because if you think about, it's not an entirely new idea. You may have heard of the term small modular reactors. Unfortunately, none of the SMRs are either too small or too modular, right? You only find a reactor or some vessel that is modular, but the rest of the plant is still bespoke large power plant. What we're doing here is we want to build 95% or more in this factory and only have a small amount of activity that needs to be done on the site, so that from the time we do excavation to the time we generate electrons, it can be done in a matter of days, not in a matter of a decade. So that's a huge shift from how we do things today. But we have to ask ourselves, hey, what technology is best suited to follow this model? If you look at today's reactors, not every reactor is designed to be done entirely in factories. So we started off from a clean slate and we asked ourselves, what is that ideal technology that makes most sense for a small reactor that can be mass manufactured. And after looking a lot, it really boiled down to one thing, which is let's go build a reactor that inherently has an amazing, very high power density. That means from a certain volume, how much energy you can generate. Right? Nuclear, that's the strength of nuclear, is you can actually have it to be very power dense, but not all nuclear are the same. You want to make sure you select technologies that are even more power dense than what we're used to. And in fact, if you look in history, we did build certain reactors using this very technology that I'm about to talk more about. This is a reactor called SNAP-10A. Back in 1965, we built a small, tiny power reactor in this country, and we flew to low Earth orbit. This was the first and only fission reactor that was flown to space. The reason they selected this technology because it was small, it was compact, and it was powerful. You don't need tons and tons of systems to run this. Everything was compacted in a single box. And if you think about what we want to achieve in terrestrial reactors, it's something very, very similar to what the folks tried to build in the 1960s. So luckily, if you kind of fast forward from 1965, at Idaho National Laboratory, I started up a program called Marble, which Matt talked about, and we were able to essentially take that original design from SNAP-10A and build a system design a system for the terrestrial applications. And that is called a Marble reactor. And this project got started right before COVID, and within 30 months, we were able to finish from the ideation to completing the design and starting construction. With a very small team, went in a very agile and skunk work type, fast, rapid prototyping. And a lot of the folks that were in the original Marble project is currently part of the Aalo team right now. And if you look at this reactor, it's the size of a Cybertruck. If you tilt it vertically upwards, and it can generate about 20 kilowatt electricity. It's a very small reactor. But we've learned a lot from this technology. It's an amazing technology that has a lot of potential. So we took the tech and the people and started the Aalo Atomics' Aalo 1 reactor. So we're roughly about a year into the process. Happy to show you the fuel that we're trying to utilize here. Now, the reason of all the technology conversations I want to talk about the fuel is because it is truly very unique. We use the same fuel technology as a lot of the university research reactors. In fact, if you go to UT Austin, we have a research reactor there that uses this fuel type. And what makes it special is that it cannot have a runaway reaction. We let our students run these reactors. That's how safe these systems are. There are control rods that make a reactor safe, right? If you withdraw them, the power goes really high and bad things can happen. So I want to show you a little video, basically trying to demonstrate. Here we go. So now we're going to in slow motion, pull the control rod that keeps the reactor safe, and you'll see a bright blue flash of light, but there's no boiling of the water, there's no vessel breaking, there's no meltdown. The reactor physics, the physics of the fuel ensure safety in a fraction of a second. So if we want to build reactors that needs to go everywhere in society, if we want to make sure if we want to build reactors that we want to mass produce and deploy them in a massive scale, we want them to be as safe as some of our university research reactors. So we took a lot of that learning and incorporated and scaled up the Marble technology into the Aalo 1. And so I've got a little 3-second video to kind of show you what that sort of looks like. So this is the Aalo 1 reactor. It is a 10 megawatt electric system. And this is small enough to fit in our garage and can power 10,000 homes for 40 years. And we only need to refuel this every 5 years. So we took a lot of the learning from the last 5, 6 decades and put all of that into a reactor that does not have any unobtainium. We can go buy the parts or make it ourselves. That's the type of technology we're trying to seek for that can be built easily and can be scaled up quickly for society. Okay, so you're here tonight for the grand opening, but if you look around, there's not much, right? In fact, when Matt had this idea, hey, we should go and have a grand opening for the office, I was like, no, don't do that. We don't have much right now. But then once I got to simmer on the thought, I realized actually it's not a bad idea. Let people come out, let us meet them, let them meet us, get to know who we are as people, and get to see the empty factory. Because in about 6 months, we're going to completely transform this place. We're going to be building our first non-nuclear prototype, full scale of this reactor that I talked about, as well as the assembly line that would have assembled this reactor. So those are the two major milestones that we're working towards. Again, don't tweet this. We want to demonstrate first and then talk to people that we've done it. But we wanted to show you what it looks like before and how much achievement we've done afterwards. So thank you all for coming out. Building a factory is not very easy, as it turns out, especially when you're trying to really build a complex machine like a nuclear reactor. So we'll be doing them in phases. The first phase, we call it the minimum viable pilot. This is basically the quickest way how we can actually achieve the first reactor. In that particular line, we can make maybe 10 reactors a year. We'll learn a lot, but we're not going to be building all of the parts in-house. We'll do maybe 25% vertical integration. And all the learning from that first phase, and that, by the way, is the 6-month target that I'm talking about. All that learning will go into phase 2, where the objective is low volume production. Because we are talking to commercial customers who want to get, purchase the Aalo 1 reactor from us. And we want to be able to deploy those reactors with this pilot line. And we'll increase the level of vertical integration, meaning in-house work that we do from about 25% to 75%, again, with a very small team. And we'll integrate our nuclear quality assurance program. We want to make sure that we can repeatedly build something at the very highest quality that we need in nuclear. And then finally, once we get really good at building those systems, we're going to then scale it up and maximize the use of this place to build 100 reactors a year. That's going to be our phase 3. So what you're looking at is roughly about 6 months, 12 months, and 12 months before we get through all of these cycles. Very, very rapid when you think about a complex machine like nuclear. That's a little diagram of how the reactor is built if you're curious. All right, now coming back to Texas, why did Matt and I decide to come to Austin? Right, that's a big question that we always get asked. And Matt had an excellent slide on what attracted us there. But I want to take us from the Texas perspective, right? Texas is actually a huge energy leader in almost every major energy technologies. They're already producing, we're the nation's largest producer of both oil and natural gas, as well as the highest amount of offshore wind. So we're already leaders in all three of them. Just this year, all the new solar installation generation that will be coming online, 50% or more will be at Texas, especially in the West Texas area. So Texas already has a long history to become the first adopter for new technology in the energy space. And I think it has done amazing in terms of creating that ecosystem to enable that. And I think the next step of that is to implement a similar kind of an impact on the nuclear side. And we're going to start that right here in Austin, Texas, in this very factory. Let's go build together the first nuclear factory. last but not least, we can't do it together. We need a lot of support and help, every single one of you that are in this room. And alone, it will be very hard for us, but I think together, we can make it happen. Thank you very much. Okay, we're not done yet. We have one more speaker, Victor Sowers. So two more. I apologize. Our next speaker, Victor, he is from TKO Energy Capital. He's the architect for wind energy, storage, solar, microgrids, anything 50 megawatts and above. So, welcome, Victor.
All right, so a startup company, let's just get a warm hand for Matt and Yasser. That's it. Victor Sowers, and our company deals with large scale energy and also dealing with the grids in ERCOT, PGM, Cal ISO, all the grids in the United States. So all 3,000 utilities that we have. So when we look at this kind of stuff in Texas, specifically, it's in the top down. What does that look like? And what are the elements geographically and also economically that are having nuclear power become headline on all the utilities? So let's take focus on ERCOT, our Texas grid, and see what's happening there. So right now, Texas generates about 100 megawatt a day in power. Right now, I guess we're saying about renewables, we are generating more renewable power than California has load. Can you imagine that? Even though we're an oil and gas state. Another thing you gotta look at is what is ERCOT, Texas, going to be dealing with in the short term? In the next 2.5 years, Texas is going to be challenged with 19 gigawatt of additional load. There's a data center, Bitcoin, semiconductor, manufacturing coming to the U.S. That's a massive load. This is the steepest increase in load that the U.S., much less Texas, has ever seen. And by the way, this 19 gigawatt, it's not a projection. This is currently under construction. And it's paid for. They're just waiting for a wire. So this kind of element that's going on in ERCOT, Texas, is also happening in other states, because we have a huge transition in manufacturing coming back to the U.S. and new load. So for 2019, we had about 1.2 terawatt in permitting. That's over 1,000 gigawatts higher. Since then, 2024, we're 2.6 terawatt of permitting. This is load looking for power. And it can't be renewable as opposed to its base power. A data center runs 24/7, manufacturing is 24/7. And just look at Samsung Semiconductor in Tyler, Texas. That's a gigawatt of power. So they can sign an MOU today and be full for a year. Much less, I need 19 factories. Man, you don't mind when we put that order in. So it gives you a vision where when we do a building, when we do a fab, it says, we look at on-site generation, temporary. So can you imagine having a gigawatt of batteries in Tyler, Texas? That's happening right now. I need a gigawatt of diesel generation for backup power in case ERCOT goes down. Because I can't have my semiconductor wafers blow up. Right? It takes 6 months to recover when it happens. Right? So when I have this budget to build an $18 billion fab, why can't I add nuclear power? And it's just not a fabrication plant. The oil and gas people look at the same thing. They have 4 gigawatt right now on generator, diesel generator, looking for a wire. Diamondback, Exxon, Chevron, they're all doing it, right? So you can imagine that when they do their project, and these are multi-$100 million projects, they just have a little line item, new plant. And they're all looking at that. So look at that vision. And then the other part we're looking at is virtual power plants. If you have generation, let's say this building that we're sitting in has energy storage, you can play in a virtual power plant at our company at spot market pricing. Most homes in Houston, a center point, in the summer, pay $150 to $400 a month if they're part of the virtual power plant and they have batteries in their garage. But we need that because I can't get thermal generation. Because if you saw that slide of 3 Mile Island, did you see that little steam coming out of the cooling towers? Remember that slide? Here's the biggest challenge about getting power, not just in Texas, but anywhere, is we don't have enough fresh water. It's called first permanent rights to water. In Texas, we have 0. All of our first permanent rights to water is consumed already for manufacturing. Matter of fact, 42% of fresh water in the state of Texas is used for generation. Versus if I have a modular power plant with a closed loop cooling system, is that right now? I don't need first permanent rights to water. Problem solved. Utilities like that. Grid operators like that. There's no place to get water. We haven't done water infrastructure in the state of Texas since 1956. So can you well imagine? If you remember the heat wave we had in 2011 for people who have been here that long, we were 4 days away from shutting down power plants because the water level dropped too low in the state of Texas. So water is a big, big deal for base power. If we're having manufacturing coming into the United States and specializing in Texas, what's interesting though, ERCOT is the most studied grid in the world. Japan, China, Europe, they all look at ERCOT. How are you guys doing this at this price tag? My price for commercial power in ERCOT is 3 pennies a kWh, just 3. It's going up, but you look at it, I can't get water. So with this load coming on, this is a perfect opportunity where there's a niche. This window is open up where we have these giant budgets and all this new load manufacturing is coming back to the U.S. in waves. AI data center. I got an AI data center in Bastrop, Texas as a 1.8 gigawatt of power. That's enough power to power Austin. And the campus is only 800 acres. Can you imagine an AI data center that's 10 times bigger than that? So there's a huge opportunity. Envision it where we're looking at for nuclear power is bad. Nuclear power is safe. Wasn't that a great demonstration our guys just showed us? Right? I have to go through underwriters. If we're doing a large project, they see something unsafe, the battery is unsafe, the power plant is unsafe, I don't get my money. But when you see something like that demonstration, you're pulling the rod out and just has a little flash, and that's it. No big boom. Well, there you go. Those are kind of items that make underwriters who are not engineers and not scientists, they're those yes, no people. That convinces them to say yes. So in the next 3 to 4 years, there's a huge room, there's a huge amount of money coming in to do new construction, new load, and utilities need help. Outside of Texas, even if you gave them $1 trillion to do one power plant, they can't get a wire to it. It takes 12 years to do one transmission wire outside of Texas. It takes 22 months inside of Texas. That's because we're not part of the federal grid. But you can imagine, I need 1,100 transmission projects to do what they want to do, to put wire all over the United States. It takes me 12 years to get one. Versus, if I'm doing a brand new plant in Maryland or West Virginia, I want my new plant. I don't need a transmission wire, which is extremely expensive. So that's the kind of stuff that we deal with on a daily basis, and we look for solutions. So first meeting Matt, and then Yasser getting their vision, showing all my questions, my in-depth, multi-hour conversation. They answer, they have a beautiful vision that gives me the ability to speak to my people I work with, and be like, hey, you know what? I think we have a solution. I think we need to have something this coming legislative session in 2025. This filing start between now and December. Was that, you know, we need support modular news more than we are now. It's friendly already, and it is, but we want it more friendly. So we're sending news to our senators and and to our local and state government, it's time to support modular nuke. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Victor. Amazing words. Thank you so much for support. And last but not least, we'd love to call up Josh Snowhorn from Quantum Loophole if he is. So Josh is the CEO of Quantum Loophole, a data center energy infrastructure company here in Austin. And he's on a few words for us. So thank you, Josh.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. My company, Quantum Loophole, has the largest data center campus in the world up in Maryland, where you mentioned how difficult it was, because I've had to deal with that. We have 3 gigawatts of grid power feeding our campus, and we're supporting hyperscalers, be it a metaverse thing, or a TikTok thing, or AI, or cloud, or whatever else. We're a bit ambivalent. We purchased a former alcohol aluminum smelter, so dirty industrial space, and we're rehabbing it for data centers. Over 2,000 acres, making it currently the biggest campus in the world. My grid power is at 3 gigawatts of wires coming from utilities, but I have an issue in between after I get past that. If I had 10 gigawatts a day, it would be gone. 10 gigawatts. That would be 10 mobile reactors that just got built, took 20-something years and $38 billion using pressurized water reactors and old school technology, or lots of new coal, or lots of new gas turbines. It is a fundamental issue that we need to solve. So when I met Matt and Yasser, and they were announcing they're coming to Austin, I live here, so it's pretty good for me. It means it's an easy drive, so I can come over and talk. But also, it's great to have a company that's local and actually believes in building something that I fundamentally need for the future. There is no way I can solve this with traditional grid. There's no way I can bring in power lines without irritating every neighbor farmer or just local communities. The only way I can do this is actually by producing microgrids and generating my own power locally. So to do that, I have a choice. I have an interim solution where I can spin up natural gas turbines or reciprocating engines. And that creates emission standards. If I was going to do it, as you mentioned, in Dallas or Ellis County, where we have a massive demand set, I'll actually give you a bigger number. I know it's 40 gigawatts of demand requests for that area. My family's been there since 1887, so my own cousins are telling me how they're going to sell their farms, make a bunch of money. It's pretty cool for them. I wish they'd sell to me at a cheaper price, but we have a massive issue now. That'd be 40 reactors that would take years to build, or let's call it 80 combined cycle gas turbines in a super non-attainment area where you have massive emissions issues. It is unsolvable with current technologies today. So something like Aalo and the innovations that are coming are tremendous for us. It gives us a future that we can focus on. Maybe it's grid, maybe it is an interim solution to kind of fill that gap as they're ramping up. To get something that's safe, can be delivered locally, where you don't have NIMBYism, it's more YIMBYism, because you're really more comfortable that it's in your backyard. We're able to produce that power without bringing in new transmission lines. It is the ultimate solution for my industry. So I welcome Aalo. I know you guys are hot. It's been a long time, so I'll leave it at that. But just thank you for coming, and thank you, Aalo, for coming to this great town.
All right. Thank you all so much for coming. It's been a great night, and hopefully we'll see most of you in 6 to 8 months. See a lot more. So thanks again. See you soon.
So I think that was a really great opportunity to hear about Aalo Atomics, what their plans are, and some of the details about their particular modular and mobile nuclear plant, what it can do, the opportunities that are here within Texas. Not only that, but the energy needs that we heard from the ERCOT representative, and also how data centers are big demand of electrical energy, similar to what we're seeing at the south end of Giga Texas with the Cortex supercomputer cluster that's being installed. The energy demands for all of these systems and other opportunities coming to the state of Texas, not only here but around the country, are immense. And using renewable sources such as solar and wind combined with some of our more traditional sources such as oil, gas, natural gas, can only go so far. And embracing and using some of this technology, such as what Aalo Atomics is discussing and what they intend to bringing it to manufacture is a critical step in ensuring that we're able to meet those electrical needs. So anyway, I hope that you enjoy the opportunity to hear about a new startup company here in Austin, Texas, and what their plans, which are pretty ambitious, what their plans can do and what they mean for the electrical use here at the state of Texas and possibly larger areas around the country and maybe eventually the world. Also, another thing that I find of interest is the fact that if we do a lunar economy or a Mars economy or perhaps a low Earth orbit economy where we are going to be doing manufacturing, science, and perhaps just exploration, the need for electrical energy is critical. And we are greatly limited to what kinds of electrical energy generation will work in those environments. Solar works great as long as they have access to the sun. The farther we get away from the sun, the more that distance affects the ability for the solar panels and the solar energy generation to be able to sustain those off-world economies. And nuclear power in modular, easily transformable, and transportable forms, such as what Aalo is talking about here, will be critical for those endeavors as well. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this little bit different kind of topic for my channel, and I hope it also puts into context what the challenges are and what possible solutions there may be. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and have a great day.